So, everyone, you may have noticed that the patch went live, and all of the changes went live to Wild Rift today for the 2.4a patch, and they didn't release the patch notes, and no one had any idea. It was absolutely nutty. I didn't have the patch notes. I still didn't get the patch notes in my usual form that I get through the League partner program. Usually, and we usually have to bug them for it, we get given some patch notes that I can make a video before the patch goes live, so it's ready to go as soon as the patch goes live. But not only did the patch accidentally go live, I didn't get the patch notes, and now I'm working with the patch notes that have gone live, like you guys can see, which I'll put the link in the description below. Anyway, thanks to G2A for sponsoring the channel. There's a reference link in the description below. I was going to use this thread here by It's Stuart, who is a content creator, to do some breakdown of the changes, but to be honest with you, by the time that I finished work, the actual patch notes had come out, and I've only just finished work. So I want to just point out that he put a monumental effort into making this little thread, and he's a great content creator, so go and give him a follow. Then someone sent me the Chinese patch notes, and when I translated them, some of the the skill translations from Chinese are hilarious. Jax's stun is called Fight Back Against the Storm. Alpha Assault, Virus Butcher Knife instead of Infected Cleaver, Flying Mechanical Claw instead of Rocket Grab, Giant Shark Attack, which is actually a better name for Fizz's ultimate. Oh dear. Ruthless Pursuit, kind of close. Hex Ultimatum, which is I think pretty good. Hook Cable. Valkyrie Dive, these are all pretty normal, but Useless Stick. This needlessly large rod is called Useless Stick. Oh, the Scythe of Absolute, Blood Drinking Sword, Devil Blade of the Sun. Anyway, clearly I couldn't do a patch note review on the Chinese patch notes because it was a bit of memes. And finally, the 2.4a patch notes came out, so we can actually review them together. The link will go in the description below, so you guys can go and see it. It has already now been released. Couple of other big releases: Darkstar Varus and Darkstar Kha'Zix are coming, which are like pretty insane skins. So I'm pretty excited about that. Let's talk about champion changes now. Akshan is getting some big buffs because he sucks. His attack growth is 4.5 per level. His base mana is going up by about 45. His base mana regen is going up, and his starting bonus attack speed is going up by 40%. Dirty Fighting is going up. His movement speed based on level is going up, which is his passive. Avengerang is going up in terms of... going down in terms of mana cost. And his Comeuppance ultimate, the cooldown is coming down. It can now execute minions. So hopefully it will blast through minions that are in the way, so we can actually deal some more damage to an enemy champion. Do I think this is good enough to make Akshan any good? I don't know. I think Akshan's a bit of a meme champion in general, and I think because of the passive on his Excoundrel ability, he really should never become good, because that's just too ridiculous. So whether Akshan will be super viable or not, it remains to be seen, but I just don't think that's the case, because he's just, I think realistically, Akshan is a bit of a meme champion. He's always designed to be a bit of a meme champion, and it's kind of like a love letter to Assassin's Creed, and I really don't think he's ever designed to be like a super viable champion that you'll be playing every single game. Annie's base health is getting nerfed by 40, and her mana cost on Incinerate is going up to prevent her from, essentially to prevent her from spamming her abilities to get a stun out, I think, and in general using Incinerate as a wave clearing tool and a trading capability. Do I really think Annie needed a nerf? Probably not, but I think she's one of those low elo stomping champions that generally stomps low elo. The only reason you ever pick Annie is for Hextech Proto, also the Proto Belt enchant into Tibbers. So all of this means absolutely nothing realistically. If you haven't hit her damage, then her viability is going to remain the same. It will just mean that she's a little more squishy. But overall, her viability remains good. And end of the day, the only reason you ever pick Annie is for Belt enchant into Tibbers. Blitzcrank, the base damage on Rocket Grab is going up. So essentially just 20 damage on every rank. He's already a good pick into Thresh, by the way. So if you see Thresh on the enemy team, Blitzcrank is a relatively good answer. This is just going to deal a little bit more burst damage, especially in the early game. 20 damage in the late game is not going to make that much of a difference. So it is realistically that 20 damage in the early game that is more important. But the same problems with Blitzcrank will always exist, which is that if you can't land a hook, you ain't going to win the game. Camille, the hookshot duration stun, his duration has gone down to 0.75 seconds, and the Hextech Ultimatum cooldown has come up by 10 seconds at each rank. I mean, This is some nice nerfs to Camille. She definitely felt like she needed them, especially from the jungle, especially with this stun duration being 1 second. Still think Camille will be decent, but she's kind of getting the Evelyn treatment where they're trying to make her ultimate less spammable. Yeah, overall, Camille, just before what she provides, is going to remain still relevant. But overall, you might just see a little bit less of her in the jungle, especially because they're kind of toning down her gank potential, especially from level 5 onwards. Corki, his armor per level is going down, and the Valkyrie cooldown is going up by 2 seconds at all ranks. Is this going to make a difference? Well, it depends, because there have been some changes to some items later on. But let me say, these changes alone are not going to be absolutely insane. It just does mean that he might trade less effectively in the Baron lane. But it also makes him much more vulnerable to AD assassins in the mid lane. So they kind of two whammy hitting him. And I really don't think he needed to be any more vulnerable to things like Yasuo and Zed, because they were already pretty good against him. They are now just going to be even better against him. But he was doing very well in the Dragon lane. However, this feels a little unnecessary, given that they are changing some items that he heavily relied on later on. So I just feel like this might just kill him completely. Not kill him completely, but it's going to make him weaker than he maybe should have been, given the items that he generally relies on are being nerfed later on, which we'll talk about. Dr. Mundo, base health going up, base health regen going up, infective cleaver, the health cost is coming down, and the total ult health regen is going up by a pretty significant amount, especially 110% in the late game. It's really nice. Overall, does anyone remember when they nerfed Mundo's health by 40? They've just given it back. Anyway, this is probably going to make Mundo a little bit more viable. I will be playing Mundo to test him out at the very least. His jungle clear might be a bit better as well. Especially at level 5 onwards, you're starting to get a decent amount of HP back in your pocket from the ultimate. So I think overall, this might push Mundo back into a viable position. He definitely wasn't that viable beforehand, and I'm going to test him out to see how it goes. Fizz. Yep, Fizz is pretty disgusting. I'm glad they're nerfing him. They're nerfing his Seastone Trident, which means that he's essentially having even worse of a jungle clear. So his jungle clear is now going to be relatively pathetic, or at least close to pathetic, or what it was before. Playful Trickster, the cooldown is going up by 0.5 seconds at every rank, which is not a huge deal, but I believe they've done this twice now, so overall it's a 1 second increase over a couple of patches. And the Churn of the Waters ultimate cooldown is going up bigly. Sounds like I'm bloody Donald Trump. It's going up more in the late game, but coming down more in the early game, but coming down in the late game. And 5 seconds on a late game ultimate cooldown is not going to make that much difference overall. But this is nice. 80 seconds puts it more in line with things like Camille and Evelyn. It was definitely coming off cooldown way too early, and felt like Fizz always had his ultimate up, which isn't very fun to play against, if I'm completely honest with you. Is this enough? This will be the biggest change. This one here. This will be the biggest change because it will affect the speed. The clear. Can I just talk? I'm sorry. It's 7:30. I've been at work all day. It will affect the speed at which he clears the jungle, which is the biggest thing in terms of getting level 5, because before level 5, Fizz is not a champion. So this will definitely affect Fizz the most, especially because they have made 2 nerfs to this over the course of a few patches, and this might be enough to kind of slow down that clear speed and make him more vulnerable in the jungle, but also reduce the speed at which he gets level 5, which will be the most important thing. Graves is getting a base attack damage per level nerf. They're also nerfing some items, so it's kind of like a double nerf to Graves. It's like 15, like less than 15 damage at the end of the day. It's not a huge deal, and I still think Graves will remain relatively viable. There are a couple of changes here which seem crazy to me, and Jax is one of them. Base bonus attack speed is going down, so they're giving him lower attack speed overall in terms of his base levels. But they're changing his passive. Jax now gains 2 stacks of Relentless Assault when attacking enemy champions or minions, and the bonus attack speed per Relentless Assault stack is going down across the board by about 0.6. So, if I get the calculator out, at max stacks previously, you would get 28.8 attacks, 8% attack speed at 8 stacks. That would take 8 basic attacks to get to that level. Now it takes 5 basic attacks, and you're going to get 30% at level 1 anyway. So overall, you're getting, a little bit extra. So that's just 0.6 by 10. You're getting about 6% extra attack speed at every single rank of this. And also you stack it for 3 less basic attacks. And Jax now takes 25% reduced damage from champions during his defensive stance. So essentially, once he's completed, I think that Counter-Strike, or at least when he's doing that Counter-Strike, he takes 25% reduced damage from other champion sources that aren't basic attacks, which basically makes him way more tanky in trades, more viable at tanking damage in team fights using Counter-Strike as well, and also he's going to stack up this passive way quickly. I actually think Jax might end up being an absolute nightmare in the Baron lane, especially because of how quickly he could potentially take down turrets, which is going to be the big worry, I think. Lucian's getting nerfed, I think, very, very understandably. His basic attack damage is going... Oh, I see. They're giving him more damage level 1, but his basic attack damage per level is going down. So it would take... They're basically cutting it by 2. So it would take 3 levels for him to get to essentially where he would be. He's now stronger from level 1 to 3, but weaker after level 3, and he's getting less armor per level as well as the relentless pursuit cooldown going up by 1 every second. So essentially, got a better level 1 and level 2, but worse from level 3 onwards, and he's much weaker to AD assassins in the mid lane, and he's going to be weaker in the Baron lane, especially with that short range. Still think he's going to be viable, don't get me wrong. Lucian has received countless nerfs on PC and has remained viable because of what he offers, as well as the fact that he's a very slippery ranged carry. So I still think he'd be viable, but may not just be absolutely insane. This was another set of buffs that was absolutely crazy to me, if I'm honest with you. Master Yi has been struggling to keep his footing in the jungle, so we're giving him... Wow, I've seen Challenger Master Yi players smurf with him with the recent items. Sorry. Armor per level is going up. Bonus damage to monsters on Alpha Strike is going up, so his jungle clear is going to get better. His bonus true damage is getting buffed considerably on Wuju style. And the Highlander, his ultimate cooldown is coming down by 20 seconds in the late game, by the way, which is going to make him even more nutty in the late game. And the bonus movement speed that he's getting is increased to all ranks. Bro, Yi is going to be like borderline insane. Now, what I would say is that any good team should eventually, have a plan to deal with Yi. So crowd control, Braum, lockdown, etc. These are all things that Yi will still struggle to deal with. But I have a real worry that Yi is going to turn into an absolute low elo farmer. Like, I really think that picking Yi at low elo may just be a ticket to win if people don't know how to deal with you. So that's going to be very interesting to see how this progresses, because he's already, honestly, in my eyes, already relatively strong. The Armadillo's clear speed has been a pain point for a while. These changes are geared towards remedying that, helping him deal with jungle evades, allowing him to gank sooner, while reducing some of his hidden damage in team fights. His mana regen per level is going down. His mana resistance? I'm guessing that's magic resistance. His magic resistance per level is going down. Defensive bull curl. Damage to monsters is going up. Didn't they just nerf his clear speed a while ago? I don't really get it. His soaring slam, which is base damage, is going down. Aftershock damage is also going down, and the tooltip now correctly shows aftershock damage. I mean, it literally doesn't. Rammus is a low elo jungler for sure. He's very good at ganking and just, catching people out with taunt. This isn't going to make a difference to his viability overall, in my opinion. And actually, in general, I just think this almost, he's going to remain in the same tier he was before. Rengar. Apparently Rengar is OP. Battle Roar damage is going down. His Bowler Strike slow value is coming down in the early game. So you have to put more points in it to make it good. And Thrill of the Hunt cooldown is going up. I mean, most people knew how to deal with Rengar, realistically. I think I don't know how warranted these changes are, but they have the data to support it, so I can't really say anything. He definitely had a lot of one-shot potential, that's for certain. I think there was probably a hidden Rengar OP build that was kind of one-shotting everyone. But, at the end of the day, the only skill that really matters on Rengar is his ultimate and his first ability. The rest of the skills are surplus to requirements, realistically. And this damage nerf in the early game, I mean, I don't think it makes that much of a difference. I think Rengar's still going to fit the same role that he always has done, which is that one-shot assassin designed to burst an AD carry. And I don't think these things are going to make a massive difference to him overall. Beat Drop now correctly applies its damage before checking if the target is slowed. This means that Rylai's Crystal Scepter now works with Beat Drop, and it will transform the slow into a root. Great. Basically means if you use Beat Drop and you use it on someone and you have Rylai's Crystal Scepter, you will root them automatically with Beat Drop. It's a nice change. It's the one that Seraphine mains, I think, will have wanted for some time. Soraka's power is hard to feel, and this is exacerbated by her constant need to sacrifice her health. Essentially, Astral Infusion, its cooldown is coming down massively. If casted while rejuvenated, the health cost will be reduced by 70, 80, 90, 100%. So rejuvenated means if you've hit your first ability. This is actually an insane change. Because previously, you would just be spamming all your health to help your AD carry in lane. But now, 70% reduction at level 1 with Starfall, you've actually got a lot of sustain in lane. This is pretty insignificant. This might actually make Soraka a super viable support. She is a little squishy, and you do have to be careful of using her into matchups like Thresh, Alistair, Leona, etc. Because if you get caught out, you'll just end up dying. But into other Enchanter matchups, this might be a really nice addition to deal with heavy poke lanes like Nami and Lulu, for instance. I'm very excited to try this out. Bloodthirster is underwhelming. So we're giving it more AD, but we're also increasing the cost. So 100 gold increase 50 AD. And Draven thanks you, by the way. Essence Reaver is having its ability haste nerfed, and it's also increasing its combine cost by 150 gold. So that's like Corki nerf that I was talking about. Essence Reaver has been being used pretty frequently by pretty much everybody across the board. But this is also a nerf to Lucian too. So Lucian's getting a double nerf here, and kind of a nerf to Graves if you played the Essence Reaver build. Needlessly large rod, or useless stick, as the Chinese notes call them. Ability power is going down, and gold cost is going up, and that feeds into Rabadon's, where you're going to have a 10 ability power decrease with a combine cost going up by 100 gold. By 200 gold. No, the combine cost is staying the same. It's just the needlessly large rods that are going up in cost. Okay. So the combine cost overall of Rabadon's death cap stays the same, but it is less AP, but only 10 less AP. And so my question here is this going to be enough to make Rabadon's a less viable second item? Because it is kind of annoying to see everybody rushing death cap as their second item. The fact that it still costs the same amount, to me, makes me think that Rabadon's will still be used as a second item. 10 AP in the grand scheme of things is not a huge deal, and Rabadon still feels like one of the best viable second items that there are for a lot of mages, so I don't envision that it's going to massively change build paths overall. And Solari Charge Blade's total cost is going up by 100 gold. Small cost changes. I think if you're playing the Solari Charge Blade Essence Reaver build, you're going to feel a 250 gold increase across that build path, which is going to delay your spike by like 30 seconds to a minute, which in Wildrift is something to be concerned about. But overall, I still think Essence Reaver, Solari Charge Blade, given that they haven't changed the passives or the AD, will still be likely the go-to combination for most of the people that previously used it, if I'm honest with you. And that's the changes. Cool. Finally got them out. Happy to do so. And I hope you guys enjoyed the patch notes. They'll be linked in the description. I'll see you soon.